Okay, so this lesson is on adjectives, and it is our first lesson. Adjectives are a modifier, meaning that they describe another word in the sentence. So an adjective is a word that modifies or describes a noun or a pronoun. They will only ever modify a noun or a pronoun. They will not modify any other part of speech. They usually answer one of four questions. So they'll tell you what kind, like a new car, a striped tie, a red tomato, or comfortable shoes. So they'll tell us what kind of car, what kind of tie, what kind of tomato, and what kind of shoes. They might tell you which one. Words like this butterfly, every page, nearby bush, or next door neighbors tell us which neighbor, which bush, which page, or which butterfly. How many is another question they answer. So numbers, amounts of things, one hamburger, many cucumbers, both students, few notes. In these cases, few, both, many, and one are modified, telling us how many hamburgers, how many cucumbers, how many students, or how many notes. And then how much is something, like no food, or little rain, or some money, or more dessert, telling us how much food, or rain, or money, or dessert we are talking about. So for an example, this large, quiet crowd of visitors examined that new building. So in this sentence, this is telling us about crowd, and it's telling us which crowd. Large is telling us about crowd, which is, you can think of it as telling us what kind of crowd or how much of a crowd it is. Quiet is telling us about the crowd, telling us what kind of crowd it is. That and new are both telling us about building. So that's telling us which building, and new is telling us what kind of building. So you will find adjectives throughout your sentence, both in your subject and in your predicate. You will even find them within prepositional phrases. Most adjectives come before the nouns they modify. This is the English construction of language. I know in foreign language it is different. They come after. Occasionally in English they may come after the noun as well. When they do, we set them off with a comma. It does add some variety to writing. So in this case, that room, narrow and dark, frightened us. That is telling us which room. Narrow and dark are also describing room. Notice the arrows going the other direction. Normally adjective arrows go right. In this case, these are going left. And they're set off with a comma here, frightened being the verb. And it just adds a little variety to the sentence structure. Narrow and dark telling us what kind of room it is. Predicate adjectives are different. So in the previous example, the adjectives immediately follow the noun. They were set off by commas and they were before the verb. Predicate adjectives will be an adjective that actually follows the verb. Okay, so the verb will come in the sentence before the predicate adjective, and it will be a linking verb. And it will come, the arrow will go left and will modify the subject of the sentence. So an example, the architect is skillful and creative. In this sentence, architect is our subject, is the verb. Okay, so there's no commas or anything. We have our subject verb, and then we have two adjectives, skillful and creative. And skillful is telling us what kind of architect we have, and creative is telling us what kind of architect we have. So when you have adjectives where you find the arrow going left to the noun it's modifying, look for that verb. Is there a verb there? Because then they'll be known as predicate adjectives, which is just a specific group of adjectives. Another specific group of adjectives are articles. So articles are a, an, and the. There's only those three, and they are adjectives. Okay, so sometimes teachers will tell you don't include them if you're identifying adjectives. And sometimes you should include them. So if you are unclear, you should ask, because they are adjectives. They're just a very special group. We use them a lot, which is why some teachers will tell you don't bother with them because we use them so much. The is what we call a definite article, and it's because it identifies a specific person, place, or thing or idea that we know of. We know specifically which noun we're talking about. So for example, Neil Armstrong was the first man to walk on the moon. In this sentence, the is the article, it's modifying man, and we know which man it is. When we say the first man, we know we're talking about Neil Armstrong. So we use the here, not a. And again, moon, The is modifying moon here. We only have one moon. We know specifically what we're talking about, the moon. It's not like any moon, a moon. We know which moon he walked on, so we use the. A and an are called indefinite articles because they refer to a group of people, one person or thing or place, but we're not sure which one within the group. So an example, a student left a binder on a desk. Here, a is used 3 times in front of 3 different nouns: student, binder, and desk. We don't know which specific student. We just know it was a student. And we don't know which specific binder. We just know it was a binder. And we don't know which desk, but we know it was a desk. And so we are using a instead of the. If we knew which one, we would change that to the. So the difference between a and an with an N is a comes before nouns that begin with a consonant sound. So that would be like S in student, B in binder, D in desk. The and comes before nouns that begin with a vowel sound. And I have sound capitalized here because it is the sound, not the letter, that is important. We have some letters that can be either. So if we look at a pilot, P is a consonant, but a unit, U is a vowel. However, here it's making the Y sound, U, right? Like Y-O-U, unit. And so because it's making a consonant sound, the Y, we use a unit. We don't say an unit. And then hat here, we're pronouncing the H in hat, a hat. If we look at our, the H is silent. So when the H is silent, we use an. Ours starting with the O sound, O-U-R, sounds exactly the same as O-U-R, so we use an. Astronaut, the A is a vowel, and elephant, the E is a vowel, so we use an for both of those. If you do have questions about this, I'm happy to answer those in class for you.